Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. On this episode of the show, I'm going to be making some clarifications, basically telling you the truth about a very, very popular headline that was viral some few days ago. I think his name is the State Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Dr. Olumide, and most publications actually came up with the tagline: Lagos says 80% of buildings on Lekki axis have no government approval. That is such a clickbaity title, because the truth of the matter is he was actually referring to the Lekki and Lekki and Ekpe axis. So yeah, most times these people actually say these things so you could not so you're already outraged before you actually read it, and that's not what he said. Not Lekki phase 1, Lekki scheme 2, and all the rest. I would say something though. Another developer actually came out and he talked about the building code on, for instance, spaces. So you're expected to give a certain, and when he did the calculation, out of a 300 square meters, for instance, you'll be left with barely 150 square meters if you were to follow the regulation. And even went as far as requiring approvals for even changing the tiling or making some significant changes in your house. So I think that one mostly concerns like I said, the Lekki scheme, Lekki access, the already built up places, and that is for a separate video. But for this particular headline, referencing the Minister of Urban and Physical Planning in Lagos, was talking about Lekki and Ekpe, so don't get it mixed up. And this is basically what he said. It was in a news interview, and this is what he said in the news. Just last week, Thursday and Friday, myself and the team were in Lekki and Ekpe axis, and you would agree with me that anybody passing through that corridor would see a lot of estates marked. We went there, and I can tell you that from what we saw, over 80% of them do not have approval. Now, let's go forward. The procedure to get approval is first to get the planning information as to what those areas have been zoned for. In this case, what we have is agricultural land, and now people go to their families to buy agricultural land. Of course, those lands would be sold because those families do not know the use of such land and what they will be put to. So what he's trying to say is, first of all, Lagos is zoned, and I've done several videos on this channel on land use in Lagos. Literally every single square meter in Lagos has a purpose, is planned to the T. So you have military zone, you have agricultural zone, you have government schemes, you have place for something related to education, you have forestry, you even have mortuary, cemetery. Every single thing is planned. And what he's saying is that the very first thing that people do not realize is that they go to buy agricultural land. Now, that in and of itself is not a bad thing, because anybody can buy agricultural land. But the problem is if you want to buy agricultural land with the hopes to use it for residential, and if the estate is marketing that property as a residential property, what he's saying is that you're not going to get approval, because from the get-go ab initio, you have bought a land that is an agricultural land. But there's something that he did not, I didn't watch that the full video, but there's something that he's not saying here, especially places like Ekpe and the rest. The government has actually deemed some places as regularization areas. And so if you ask the developer, first of all, if you ask them, this land I want to buy from you in Ekpe, in Lekki, what area, what zone does it fall under? They need to tell you. Is it a residential area? Now, like I said, I've done videos about it, and especially the one that I told you, buying Ebola, Igboye side, it's lots of residential places there. Even Temo Timo has lots of residential areas. Like that's what it's marked for. The government wants, and plans for there to be residential estates and residential dwellings and what have you. But going back to that, what I said at first, even if that place is an agricultural or a forestry or whatever, that you use, which the minister referenced, the government has actually, kind of, they call it a revocation. So they have kind of deemed that area, revoked it from that agricultural use, and it's a regularization area. And so there are a couple of fines you pay for it, not fines, fees that you pay for it, and the process will start. So you start the process of regularization. Now that is not a permit, but that document would show that first of all your land falls under the area deemed for regularization. So you can actually change the use from an agricultural land to a residential land. And I don't think that would be much of an issue going forward because of the rate of urbanization, and we'll be needing more land, and it's not such a hard and fast. Some, like for instance in the UK, there's something called use class. You can actually switch between use classes, and because it's similar uses. So in this case, I see the fact that if more and more people and more developers are buying stretches and swaths of land, you're not going to build a poultry in the middle of probably a residential development. So while there are no guarantees, I have to say that, especially if that area is not even under revocation or under regularization, if you actually buy a purely agricultural land that the developer is not planning, has not started regularizing, I think that's going to be very, very risky. Then the next thing he said is fence permits. And he said if you miss the earlier information on not knowing the area zoning, at the point of getting the fence permit, you would be able to detect what the area is zoned for. After that, layout permit permits the layout permits a large expanse of land follows. Anyways, basically what he's saying is that if you actually want to get a fence permit to fence a place, you would know where the area falls on. And lots of lots of estates got marked, even very popular estates, from popular favorite developers. And at the point of you doing your fence permit, lots of people, again I say, lots of people don't even get this permit. You just start doing these things, and it actually invites infractions. And I take a lot of my time to tell clients that in my funnel, try to explain to them that most times there's an infraction, in the sense that people don't do what they are supposed to do, and then there are issues. But what he's saying is that the point of getting a fence permit, so a permit for you to be able to build a fence and fence around your estate, you're able to know what is the status of that estate in the zone. And so it's a good question to ask a real estate developer that has not yet fenced. It is a good question. Oh, why have you not fenced? And it's also a good question to ask them, do you have a fence permit? And that can be a follow-up question to, what is this zone for? What is the land use of this your estate? And he added, a fence permit cannot be obtained if it was not zoned for the purpose it is designed for, or for the purpose it was being requested. So he added, you can see all these layers, but people go ahead to start advertising. Some have even gone to the extent of displaying the sizes they want to sell. Then that goes also to another layer, which is you need to actually have an approved layout. And so many estates actually start to promote an estate and say, this is what we want to do here, there and there. You actually have to have that layout approved. It goes without saying that before you do all of this, you actually have to have gotten your registered survey as well. And He said, imagine someone in the diaspora wants to send money without any knowledge, then no approval is eventually gotten. Even if they pass the assignment and the survey to them, we would not grant the individual permit because that area is not zoned for that purpose. So what he's saying is that even if they actually pass the assignment, and the survey is granted, okay, to explain this is a risk that developers also are willing to take, because at the end of the day, the planning process is painfully very, very slow. And if you got a piece of land and you waited till you got all the permits to get everything perfectly, you're going to just be wasting time and your capital is sitting idle. So most times, if developers do indemnify the buyers and tell them that, okay, if anything goes wrong, we're able to refund you or give you another property, and that process is underway, where whether it's to get the CFO, whether it's to get the survey, that process is underway, is in process. So what he's saying is that even if eventually that CFO, the deed of assignment, the survey is gotten, if he's gotten for something different, let's say they have gotten the permission, but it's for an agricultural land. If you wanted to build and you applied for a permit for it may be a terrace duplex, 4-bedroom terrace, it's not going to be granted because it's a different use from what they granted the developer the survey and the assignment for. So it's something that you need to be careful, and also you need to ask before you make your decision to buy. There are a couple of these estates that I know that are like freehold, registered survey, either already given and already in process, and also in the process of regularizing it, turning it from agricultural to residential, and my so if you're interested, do hit me up. But at the end of the day, the last comment I'm going to make is that all of these add to the price of land, because now land is getting very expensive. If you're looking for anything CFO, you're talking about 15 million up to 20 million. You're looking at quite an expensive, but it's an expensive endeavor also for the developer, because all of these permits aren't cheap. I hesitate to mention the name, but even a very popular developer along the Lekki axis, they went and they marked his estate. It was something as little. I mean, they had a CFO, they had registered. I think it was just a fence permit. And when they just do these things, and obviously you're going to quote this thing, people just panic. And there's also things to be said about how the government actually does these things. But at the end of the day, I want you all to just be informed about this. So this is long and short. This is the truth. Try to break it down as succinctly as possible. I hope you were able to follow my thread of thought, even though I tried to say a lot of things in this short time. Thank you very much for watching. This is the Ownahome TV show. Here on Home, believe owning a home and property should not make you lose sleep. Kindly like, kindly share, kindly subscribe, and reach out to me. I'm always very happy when people say, "Oh, I've been watching you for 5 years, 5 months, 2 months, 3 months, 3 weeks," and I decided to reach out. Please reach out to me. Stop lurking around the corners. Thank you very much for watching. Kindly like, share, subscribe. I'll see you at the very next video. Bye bye.